Pozdrav svima, welcome back. Now I got a really interesting question from a viewer asking about the difference between 45-degree angle on the scraper versus something like a 70 or 80-degree angle. So that's what you're going to see in this video. So what I have here are two refiner scrapers. Now this one on the right is one of the early ones with the angle here roughly around 60 degrees, but that's to sort of an end of its bevel life here. So the next stage that I would usually do is go to rougher wheel and extend that bevel and get it back to 45 degrees. Now here on the left I have the refiner latest prototype without the signature, with the new handle, with the 45 degrees roughly angle. Now let me explain why these angles matter, or why they don't maybe matter all that much. Now what I have here is what's usually called as asymmetric curve, as my mentor likes to call it, Richard Raffin, or French curve scraper. Now this one is a scraper that has a changing bevel. Maybe not something that you can sharpen with the platform, but it's really nice to be able to sharpen by freehand. Now if you pay a little closer attention, you will see that the top area here, around 2-3 mil, so this is the top of the scraper, this is single facet, so all this area is nice single facet. I really don't care what's happening in all of this bottom area. Usually what I would do is just go to a coarser wheel and just grind that off, because if you have it like this, usually on a smaller turnings like this, it can rub in that bottom heel of the bevel, and it prevents you from engaging the very tip of the scraper where the burr is. So, but this scraper here is 45 degrees or roughly on this area here, on this curve here. So you can see long bevel here, so that's roughly 45. And I say roughly, I don't have any means of measuring this, but if I put another 45, oh, let's grab this one. This is the smaller asymmetric curve. Again, the nose roughly 45 degrees, you can see, and they don't meet at a 90-degree corner, but it's close. So again, it's roughly 45 degrees. Some days it will be more of a 45, some days it's more of a 50, but that doesn't really matter. And from this curve, the rest of the curve here, roughly here, I have it from, let's say, 45 to 80-degree changing angle. So you can see here not so much of that visible bevel as you can see it here. So here you can see roughly 10 mil of bevel here, and here you only see, let's say, 2-3 mil. So it's a changing bevel, and I'll show you how to sharpen this one. So here where we scrape at the very let's say leading edge of the scraper, so in the front where we have the alignment of the handle and everything, is 45 degrees, and we can control that 45 degrees here. If there was a 45 degrees here, the scraper will get a little more of a grabbier scraper. It will have the tendency to sort of grab. So that's why here on the very tip I have a 45, but as I come along and scrape the side, it's much more, let's call it, not so engaging. So it's a little less grabby, a little bit more friendly. So, and here if it again was 45 degrees, and if you position it wrong, you will be able to break the turning, especially if it's a thin one. So that's why you need that little bit of a blunter, let's call it, angle, or shallower angle. The way I envision this is, if you have something like a 45 degrees like here, it will be much simpler and easier to sharpen this to a really sharp point, and you can basically cut yourself just by going like this over your finger. And this is much easier to sort of dig into something. There's not much force here. versus where you have something like this one, which is around 60 degrees, and we're going to sharpen this one in today's video to a little bit more of a shallower angle. You can imagine, even if you get these two surfaces really nice and polished and sharp, it's much less likely to cut yourself on this profile, and as well it's a little less of a chance that you can penetrate something with this sort of a shallower angle. So that's why many, especially if you're just starting out, many recommend or they use shallower angle. It's a little bit more friendly, it won't be as grabby. It still can be a grabby tool, or you still can have a catch with it, but it's a little less likely to do. Now, why do I use 45 degrees on my refiner? Now, the reason for that is, again, still something that I envision, and to me it's a logical thinking, and we'll see that in this video, I hope. If it's a 45 degrees, like on a new refiner here, for me, I like to sacrifice maybe a little bit more of a durability of the edge, because there is not much steel, let's say, here in that very tip of the scraper, and it's much easier to roll that hook or a burr with this little steel here that's left, where something where, like on this one where it's around 60 degrees and it will be shallower once we sharpened it, it's much, let's say, I won't call it difficult because we are using harder steels to, or burnisher to roll this, or grinders that will also put the burr on top here. But this burr on this scraper will last you longer because there is much more steel supporting that burr. However, it won't be as sharp. The next thing is to hop to a grinder, and we're going to sharpen. I show you how I sharpen the asymmetric changing angle curve, and we're going to sharpen the two refiners here. Grinder is, I have this used 400 grit sandpaper. I just put it here on the flat surface, upside down scraper like so, nice and flat, and give it a few rubs that will polish up the top a little bit and remove any remnants of the old burr. So this is how the scraper now looks. Now, before I go to CBN wheel, what I'll do is just to remove some of the heel here on a coarser wheel here. So that's some of the waste metal out of the way, you can see. So now with the CBN, which is much more finer wheel, which is 180 grit, if I'm not mistaken, I have less metal to remove at the top here. This asymmetric curve is find the nose angle. Wait until the very edge changes color a little bit. And just to show you how that looks, so it's a nice single facet, roughly 2-3 mil from the top. That's what I'm after. And I have a nice sharp burr all the way around. So on this one, newer refiner, I removed the burr and polish it up in the top. So I won't change the platform, I'll just use the edge of the platform and get this roughly to the same angle. So that's, again, you can see the top bevel is roughly 2-3 mil, and I have a nice burr all the way around here. So that's roughly 45 degrees. For this one, which is around 60 degrees, I'm just going to get it a little bit more blunter or shallower angle on a coarser wheel real quick. This now is much more shallower angle. This now is roughly that you're going to see in stores and from manufacturers, and pretty much recommended method. So this is around 80 degrees, so only 10 degrees off or 15 degrees off 90. So what I'll do is just get it, remove the burr here and polish it up. So I'll just get nice fresh burr from the CBN and put a little notch here just so it's a nice and same as the other scraper. So again, I'll use the platform edge, find the angle. Okay, I feel nice burr all the way around, and I'll just put a little notch here. There we go, so that's, we have a little notch here, and we have the pretty much same curve, just to compare it, or they are similar. So we have the 45 degrees on the left and 80 degrees on the right. And again, on this one we're going to change the angle as we move along the video. So let's go first with 80 degrees scraper, see how it works. So that works quite lovely. Just see how it scrapes. Yeah, that's pretty decent surface. I don't think there will be much bigger difference with the other one. We'll see. Just focus it a little bit. There we go. So trying to get the light just right so you can see better. So that's pretty good surface, nice and smooth. So now let's try with 45 degrees. I'd say pretty close. Pretty close. I don't notice any difference in terms of grabbing, but this is again side grain. Doesn't mean that it has to grab. Again, I don't think on this particular area of the side grain that we're going to see much of a difference here. Maybe with the rolled hook, which is one of the next areas that we're going to cover, but where I'm expecting to see some of the difference is here on the end grain. Now I say end grain, this is end grain and side grain. So first what I'll actually do is mark if I see any chip out or tear out. So this is one of the area. Now I'm going to mark it on this side because this side might scrape, so it will be gone. This is clean, and this is the other mirror area here. So now I'll use the 80-degree scraper, and I'm going to use it flat first. So let's see what's happening here. So this is where the chip out should be. You can see that's pretty much all removed, and this is the other mirror. That's pretty much gone. So this is really nice and clean, ready basically for sanding. And what I'll do is just tilt it up on its side and do a shear scraping. Yeah, so that's just a little bit more shinier surface. That's pretty good. So let's see now with 45 degrees, same tool rest height and everything. Now what I do expect is to be maybe just a little bit more grabby. Again, you have to have the handle raised. The angle of the surface you're scraping on top of your tool is less than 90 degrees. So with this burr from the grinder, I'm not getting that sensation that wants to pull in, so that's good. Just see if there is any difference in the surface. Yeah, then that's ready for sanding. That's nice and clean. Do the shear scraping as well. I mean, that's, you can't get any cleaner than that. So I'm trying to show you the best angle to show you the surface right after the scraper. So that's everything nice and clean, and just to show you that it is clean, so it's not any camera trick or anything like that. I'm just going to give it a sand with the 240 grit real quick. So just quickly, just give it a few rubs with 240 grit. And just to show you the surface, so there is a little tool marks here, I hope you can see, and here as well on that against the grain orientation, but the rest is nice and smooth. So if I go just a little bit more with the 240 grit, we'll probably remove that tool mark altogether. I would go with 180 grit, I'll never go with 240 on the first grit. So you can see just a tiny bit more, and on this side it's pretty much well gone. So that's nice and polished, you can see. And just a few seconds with 240 grit, which again, it's, I would start with 180 here, and the sanding will be done much faster. Now the next step, just to see if there is any difference, is I'm going to polish up the top, so on a sandpaper on the tabletop, and just give it a few rubs like so, and remove the top burr here, and I'm going to use a burnisher to roll it. Okay, so I removed the top burr here and polish up the top on the sandpaper as I've shown on the beginning of sharpening, and this rag is full of WD-40 and that I use for the cleaning up bedways. So just give it a few rubs, makes it glide easier with the burnisher, although not necessary. I like to keep it nice and flat on the scraper and just give it a few rubs. Now it's, I think, sort of a common sense that you watch out so you don't slip onto sharp corners here. So just be aware where your fingers are. So what I'm doing here is just extending the metal past the bevel here, and now just find the bevel and raise it 1 degree, and just give it, I'll do it 2 times, and I feel a slight burr, not so much as will be, I assume, with 45 degrees, because again, this is much more steel at the very corner here. But now let's see how it scrapes. So let's see how it scrapes. Need to raise the rest a little bit, so I'm slightly tilted down. Scrapes nice and predictably. Let's see the surface. That's pretty much the same as with the grinder burr. This chestnut on the side grain, it likes to, because it's a quite coarse open pore timber, you can see here the grain likes to sort of pull up a little bit. That sends out really quickly, but does look at first like a tear out. So let's go to the end grain here. So now we are here at the end grain, going flat. So what's happening, it's like I don't have any burr left here. Interestingly, it's like the burr is gone much faster with a pulled burr here on this kind of a 80-degree angle, so that's quite interesting. Pretty good surface, but also it's a polished surface from the sandpaper that can also cause a little bit of a difference. Yeah, it's like it's gone, it doesn't have the burr left, so we'll see when we change the angle what's happening. Yeah, so that's again nice surface as it was with the grinder burr, but slightly, I would say, less, because you saw after only these two areas the burr is gone. So now I'll do the same with 45-degree. Okay, I removed the top burr. Now I'll just extend the burr past the bevel. And find the bevel, raise it 1 degree. Again, doesn't have to be exact. So again, 2 strokes going like this, and this 2 strokes. I have much bigger, more considerable bigger burr here that I can feel. So let's see how it scrapes here the side grain. This is what I like about this. It can be aggressive burr, but it's nice efficient burr, nice hook to it, and yeah, I would say that's slightly better surface. Now from experience, I know it likes to grab a little bit, because again, this rolled hook on a 45-degree can be a little grabby. So we'll see what's happening. I'll just position the tool rest so I'm comfortable around the camera. So I hope you can see that jolt of what's happening, and that is that sort of dig in. You can see nice polished areas here, and where the burr has gone on the previous scraper, but it's here, it's nice and clean, but it's a little bit too aggressive, and let's see if I can mend that by be really light. This is where I don't recommend having this kind of burr on end grain portion, where you have much more end grain. It's really nice and clean, but it's again harder to control because this 45 with that really strong aggressive burr likes to dig in. But it's great and basically neutral if you tilt it up on its side as the shear scraper. And I hope you can see how long the burr lasts on the 45. Just to show you the surface. That's really nice and pristine surface. Hope you can see it's really nice and clean without any tear out. So there should be a difficult spot in this area and in this area, but there's not here. This is ready for 240 sanding. What I've done to old refiner is change the bevel angle. If you watch the very top of the angle here where my thumb is, so now it's around between the 45 and 80 degrees, so give or take. And now let's see if the burr will last longer, and this is the burr with the burnisher, so I went straight for that. Okay, let's see the surface. Again, slightly more tear out in this area here, just a little bit. Let's try go one more time, just slower. Okay, that's a little bit better. Still here a little bit, this side is nice and clean. So I would say slightly, just ever so slightly worse, but it's better than, in my opinion, on what I'm seeing here, than the 80 degree angle. So, and let's see here where we have the end grain exposed, going flat first. So I would say this is roughly 60 degrees, 65 degrees, and it doesn't want to be pulled in as much as 45. So that's again nice aggressive burr, but it didn't go aggressively in, and that's pretty nice surface. Let's see with the shear scraping. Yeah, that's really nice surface. A little tool mark here. But I think the burr has started to... Okay, there is no burr here left. I need to push harder to make it happen, or to make it scrape, which is not what you want with the scraper. So I have it a little bit here on the very bottom, and maybe here at the very top. So the burr, to what I'm seeing here, if the angle is shallower, then it sort of breaks off much quicker. So what I'll do now is just put on the same scraper 45 degrees and we'll see what's happening. So the last step is I converted the old refiner to roughly 45 degrees, and I have put a new notch here. You can see the top angle here, and I put the pull burr with the burnisher on. So let's first go here to the side grain. Pull this with the burnisher. I can feel it with only 2 strokes. It's much heavier burr, which again is what I'm after. And that's super nice. Especially on side grain, you can see that's perfect. Really, really perfect. And just again to prove it, 240 grit, turn on the dust extractor. So 240, although it's not visible. Pretty much done. Grab shavings. I mean, that's really nice and clean surface with just a few seconds of sanding. And you might want to see this from a different angle as well. Try to get it as best I can, so that's again nice and clean without any tear. There are a few sanding marks that needs to go away, obviously, but again I've started, or tool marks I should say, but that will usually send out if I start with 180 grit. Okay, so now here where we have the end grain exposed, again I expect to be a little bit on the grabby side. So I hope you can see that different sound, and it's sort of a pulling in and pulling out scraper. It's nice and clean. It's really pristine surface. Hope you can see that, but it's not easy to control. So whenever you are going, let me just grab something real quick. So if I'm doing a bowl like this, let's say, so here I would scrape flat. I could scrape pretty much everything nice and flat here, but because this is a standard scraper and with this kind of profile 45 degrees and here with that aggressive burr, if the burr was straight from the grinder, then it won't be this aggressive. Just keep that in mind. When you pull the burr with the burnisher, it does get cleaner surface, but it also likes to be much more grabbier. So here when you get to this area here, you can tilt the scraper up on its side and do a shear scrape. It won't be as grabby. So now you'll see that here again I'll put it up on its side. And gently to get the best possible surface. So that's really nice. So I hope you can see that's a really nice surface. Just to see how long the burr will last. Now I'm being aggressive. Yeah, I think you get the point. And although I've been quite aggressive with it, it is a little rougher, but a little lighter pass with a scraper should do the job. Now, just for fun, this is the asymmetric curve. This is the burr from the grinder. So at the nose here, where it's 45, it won't be as grabby because it's from a grinder. Even with the hone, you should not be able to, if you follow the simple rules of having that negative 90 degrees, you should be able to get a really nice surface. So that's, again, really nice. We can shear scrape if this is the only scraper you have. But it's not something that I like to use on this orientation. It's not as comfortable to hold, but you get the picture, I hope. I don't have only shorts with Superman, I have a t-shirt as well, so that's how I roll. Now, what's the conclusion of this video? Now, do your own test. That's I would say, the best option for you. So in this video I wasn't expecting the 80 degrees to sort of disappear the burr that quickly, and even the around 65-60 degrees also disappear the burr or remove the burr quite quickly. Now it may have some logic. Maybe some of you are better at this than I am. If that's the metal is so blunt, let's say, at the end, not so sharp, it's again harder to roll. That's why I haven't felt until I've used the same stroke on each scraper, but only on 45 degrees I've noticed a really nice and sharp burr, quality nice sharp burr. Now, what I think with a shallower angle, you cannot just, there is a lot of metal in that area, and you have to maybe do it a few more times, but if you do it a few more times, then you're losing that original angle, and your burr or hook that you use with the burnisher may be a little bit wonky in angle. So it's a different, and I don't like that. So that's the reason why I like on my square end scrapers, on my refiner, and basically on all of my bolt scrapers I have it at 45 degrees. Apart when it goes around the curve more to a side of the scraper, this is where I introduce the variation of the angle, let's say, so from 45 to 60 or 70 degrees, depending on the type of the scraper. Now what I'll do, a little bonus at the end, let's say I'll use my refiner, and I'm going to do only one stroke with the burnisher, a real quick stroke, and we'll see, and you'll see that you can scrape the end grain as well if you're careful, and if you don't just jab the scraper in, it will be still aggressive than the grinder. So again, just to point out, I like using the burr from the grinder whenever I'm scraping some of the maybe intricate details on the side of the cross grain orientation of the wood, so where you have exposed end grain, a lot of the exposed end grain, this is where I like the burr from the grinder. But everywhere else, the transition, let's say on the balls, on the side of the balls, the bottom, the inside, I like to use the burnisher and get that hook, and that hook is stronger than the burr from the grinder, and just works much better. So let's do that with the one stroke. Metal past the bevel and find the angle, raise it a degree or two, and I'll just do one quick stroke, and I feel already nice fresh burr. So let's go here right to the end grain. Hope the camera angle is okay. Okay, now it's again less aggressive because it's not that big, and the surface is pristine, doesn't need anything. We can shear scrape it. Nice and gently to get nice surface. I mean, that's polished surface on the cross grain. So Let's go here on the side grain. And please, if you like this kind of content, like the video, subscribe, that always helps. Leave thumbs up if you like it. And if you do one stroke with a burnisher, you might get a little stronger burr, lasting longer. And if you think about the burr as nails, if they are too long, they are brittle. So shorter nails are a little bit more stronger nails. So. Again, that's really nice. Again, that's my view on this. That's the beauty of turning. Try it out for yourself. If you find something else that works for you, awesome. I'm just glad maybe I've inspired you to do some testing for yourself, to experiment. That's the beauty of this. Just experiment. I've learned something today that was a little bit different to my logic, and that is that more of a shallower angle, more blunter angle of 80 degrees, I would assume would hold the burr longer, but it didn't in my case. Could be due to metal or something I did wrong, but both of the 45 degrees refiners, when I sharpened them to 45 degrees, they both perform quite well, and what I'm expecting from them to how to perform. So yeah, that's my take on this. Hope it helps, and see you in the next video.